Hi, Pisces. Happy birthday. You're going first. Woohoo! And you're getting uploaded first because this time we're doing intuitive and we're doing one at a time. And it's just, whoa, okay. We're doing, they'll take the time they take now then. If we're going to do the intuitive, it's just a whole other mode to do it completely intuitive, if that makes sense. So Pisces, how are you feeling? Let's see. Pisces can have some cyclical stuff. You know, Pisces sometimes feel bad because they're like, if you ask them like, oh, how are you doing? They're like, oh, you know that thing that I went through? Yeah, I'm kind of going through that again. And they feel bad. And I'm like, listen, just because something is cyclical, for a water sign, doesn't necessarily mean that you're not learning from your mistakes. Every time you do that thing or go through that, I feel like sometimes Pisceans apologize for getting sad or being scared and not realizing that every time you go through that cycle of depression or fear or whatever it is, you learn something new from it, even if you feel like you didn't, even if you feel like you're making the same mistakes, even if you feel like nothing is changing. There is something changing. There's something changing, if nothing else, on just on a neural level, right? In your brain, you're making new connections. You're coming to new understandings. Now, will you act on them right away? Sometimes, sometimes you guys are like super smart about it and like really follow your instincts, but that depends on how Pisces is feeling. Like if you guys aren't feeling good in general about stuff, then no, you're not going to just jump on top of whatever instinct you have and say, ooh, that's a good idea. Let me go risk, whatever to go do it. No, you're not. You only take risks when you feel confident, and you only feel confident when, you only feel confident, one, when you're learning, that's like a given, but also you feel confident how to say it without sounding like I'm criticizing you, because it's a good thing. Let me put it to you this way. Oh, there's a card in here that's upside down. Oh, a couple. All right. I think we have enough cards here. But I have a friend who exhibits this, so maybe I can explain it, and then I'll show you these cards, and we'll get to this very intuitive reading. So I have a friend who is lively and intelligent and very well-spoken and really sexy and really attractive, and every male I've introduced her to, including anyone I was dating, has said to me in a really respectful way, like, your friend is so smart and so intelligent, like, I really like her. Like, she's the kind of girl that I would date if I wasn't dating you or married to you. And it's always been something where I've been like, absolutely, I totally agree with you. I see the qualities in her that would make her attractive to you as a mate, and like, I respect you for liking her and being attracted to somebody like that. So that's the level of esteem that I have for who she is. However, she is only able to maintain that positive, confident, super magnetic, attractive energy about half the time, which is fine because as a Gemini, I understand. But here's the problem. The other half of the time, she's tearing down what she's built with the beautiful, charming, intelligent side. So there can be this like, Scorpios do it too. There can be this like creation, destruction. Like, I created this great thing and now I'm going to destroy it. And Pisceans can have relationships where that cycle wears on signs that aren't cyclical. So for example, if you do that with a fire sign, you're going to get in trouble. And speaking of fire sign, that's the first card here, is the Page of Wands. So if you're dealing, now I'm just riffing off what's going on, I'm doing these like I did at the very beginning. So if you're dealing with a fire sign as a Pisces, you are encountering the impatience of their nature, because fire signs are at a point right now in the year where they're like rearing to go, and anything that is going to feel cumbersome, anything that is going to feel like a weight, anything that's going to feel like, oh, this is holding me back. Maybe this is why things aren't moving. Because that's not true. That's not why things aren't moving for fire signs. But they're getting so impatient right now that they're looking for reasons, okay? They're like being very combative and pugnacious right now with their partners. Aries are, Leos are. Well, Leos not so much. They're trying to stay out of fights more than, start fights. But they don't, the reason is because they don't understand the cyclical nature of a Pisces problem or a Scorpio or a Cancer problem. To them, like for example, to an Aries, a cyclical water issue just seems like after a couple of times, they're like, what is going on? Like, you have been here, you have thought about this, you have realized things. Why are we back here? Why do you feel like this again? I don't understand. And what they're not understanding, because their way of learning is different from yours, okay, that's what it really comes down to, is that although on the outside it may appear like you've gone through yet another cycle of happy and depressed, or you loved him and now you hate him, or you hated him, now you loved him, whatever the nature is of your particular cycle at the moment, what this fire sign, but there is also an air card here. What this fire sign and this air sign have a problem understanding is that for you, the cycle is not stagnant. The cycle is not static. The earth goes through cycles too. Does that mean it's boring and just doing the same thing over and over again? No. The ocean goes through cycles. Women go through cycles. Are women at all boring? Women are a lot of things, but they're not boring, right? So there is, it's a fallacy. It's unfair to assume that the cyclical nature of a water sign's issue is that they are just making the same mistakes over and over again. And I believe that most water signs fall into the trap of having society tell them their whole life that they're not moving on from their problems, and make them feel so bad about going through these bouts of feeling sad and then getting better, that they learn to keep it to themselves. And you learn to tell yourself a pretty negative narrative about the process. Like, oh, I'm just going through that thing again, or oh, I'm sorry, I'm depressed again, or I'm sorry, I'm emotional again. I've talked to so many Pisces who, through the readings that I've been doing, through, people who have found me through YouTube, Pisceans who have become my friends, where I'm like, why are you apologizing? Like, you are allowed to be going through your cycle. You are allowed to be learning new things, and you have to realize that this is how you learn new things. This is part of it, right? But it's hard when you have a partner who doesn't learn like that, right? So fire signs learn from moving forward, right? Which is the opposite of what you're doing. Air signs learn, well, air signs, it's a little bit different, right? Because air moves in every direction. So you can have cycles of air, you can have air that moves forward, you can have air that moves backward, or what seems to move up or down. What's referred to as air signs is actually kind of a misnomer, because it's not really about air, it's about dimensionality, right? So Librans, Aquarians, and Geminis possess the ability to be able to function on more than one, to conceive of things in more than one dimension, and that includes time, right? So you can often have conversations with air signs where they will admit that they don't really believe in time, because they have on so many occasions been able to manipulate it somehow, right? So air signs, that's like a whole other way of learning. Air signs are learning where fire signs are learning from forward movement and water signs are learning from the cycle, air signs are really learning from everything, and that's why it's so difficult for them, because they can get overwhelmed. Now, it's also really difficult for you guys to get overwhelmed by your cycle, which is what we're talking about, which is how you guys have been feeling, probably like mid-month. And there's always the anticipation of the birthday as well. And I mentioned that in the last reading, and it was really interesting to see how many people picked up on that and were like, that's right, I'm really into my birthday. Now, this is what you have to understand. These things for you that you really like and appreciate, and these include holidays and spending time with family at certain times of the year, all this sort of stuff. Although you really like it, and although it's really super important to you and a big part of your identity, it really messes with you, and it's very, very stressful. And there is a tendency for Pisceans to get broken up with around their birthday, or, which is also usually like right after, before Valentine's, like, that area, like when we're going into Pisces, like we're about to go. Because you guys put this kind of subconscious pressure on yourself about your birthdays to be a certain level of something important. And if you're with a partner, that energy can be a little bit hard to live up to. And men in general, I'm going to be specific here. I'm sorry as a man if you're watching this for a woman, for like a Pisces that you love. But men, the way men in general respond to what is often the water sign way of exhibiting disappointment, which is like, I need you to do more. You're not making me happy. I'm expecting more from you. That particular way of being unhappy with a man is the kind that gets you kind of broken up with really, really fast, because there is something within men where just because of the way their hormones are set up and the way testosterone comes into the brain at puberty and changes the structure in certain ways to make them problem solvers and be able to dismantle things and work on them, the way they're built, when they feel like they are not able to make you happy, when they feel like they do not possess the tools to put this together in a way and problem solve this to make you happy, when they have realized that they actually just can't live up to that, right? You would think, like, as a woman, I think we encounter this a lot, where we're told a lot that we can't do this, we can't do that, we got to prove ourselves about this, and that. But when a man encounters a woman he has feelings for, who makes him feel like he can't meet her level of what she needs in terms of depth, intimacy, communication, whatever it is, after a while of beating his head against that brick wall, he will leave, and quickly, because, like I said, the way the male brain is set up, right? When it can't solve a problem, it gets really, really, really moody. And it's like, it keeps working on it and working on it and working on it. Like, imagine there's a part of his brain that's just like working on this Rubik's Cube and just keeps working on it and working on it, right? And the more he can't figure it out and the more he feels inadequate, what you're hitting there is his basic sense of manhood. That's his basic use of testosterone, is to figure things out and do them the right way and get things to work, right? So when he can't get this to work, you attack that basic virility in him. When you do that to a man, he bounces, and he bounces in a way that's really painful, where he just kind of disappears. Okay, I'm not saying that anyone who's had that happen to them, out of you guys that are out there, that you did that to somebody, or I'm explaining to you how things that you're waiting for, things that you're leading up to, things like your birthday, Valentine's Day, St. Patrick's Day, things that are associated with your time of year, you can work them up so much that someone can think to themselves, you know what, I'm never going to be able to live up to her expectations of this, and I haven't been doing a good job anyway. Like, I can't seem to make her happy. Like, if I'm not constantly feeding her a certain amount of something, she's getting upset. And I think that's why so many water signs end up with other water signs, because you guys realize that the other one isn't being needy, that person is actually going through another series of learning processes. And the gag is that you guys are actually going through a lot of learning processes, much more than the other signs are. So what seems to the outside like moody, needy, behavior, and you guys, like, I know, I'm hard on you guys. I'm not saying this to like defend you. It's true. What seems like moody, needy behavior is just that you guys are growing at an exponentially faster rate than other signs do, because although air signs are very intelligent and are constantly learning, we know now through several studies that emotional intelligence far outweighs rationality and any sort of like logic, memory-based intelligence, right? Like what you guys are constantly doing with whatever you're feeling and going through, it's a really amazing and difficult process, and it does leave you drained. So I feel that that's where you guys are, that either you've just been through that, or you feel yourself going through it, or you're feeling the drain of having gone through it. It has been, there was the eclipse and it was in your sign, and like we're not going to talk about astrology in this one, right? So I've like spent the time actually just doing things to get into my like more intuitive state. So let's look at these cards and see, based on the conversation we just had, because I haven't really been looking at them that much, what is going on, okay? So, what do we have? Page of Wands, the Hierophant. Page of Swords, the Moon. 9 of Pentacles, 4 of Cups, 6 of Wands, 8 of Swords, and the Tower. And then the bottom of the deck is the 7 of Pentacles, okay? So, let's see. Oh, sorry, I tap my fingers a lot on this table. Okay. You know what I see? I see somebody who is struggling against so many different forms of control. I see this person who wants you to be this way. I see this society, this corporation, this job, this church, this marriage, this teacher, this institution, this society that wants you to be this way, that you're feeling very keenly, this pressure. And then I see this other person who wants you to be this other complete other way. Here, have a lot of direction. Do as I'm doing. Follow me into my weird, passionate, fiery place that sometimes makes absolutely no sense and scares the hell out of you. No, you have to do what you're told. There's a lot riding on you, and there's a lot you have to live up to, and there's a lot that you have to get done. No, but there's also these things. And what about, have you thought about it in an abstract way? Have you thought about it this way? What about your soul? What about this part of you? What about how you, and here you are going, okay, here's the thing. I am the most authentic sign. I can't be anything but what I am. That's why I'm constantly getting in trouble with people, because I can't help being a Pisces. Okay? I can't help being a Pisces. I can't. I'm going to drink through Beyonce's whole baby shower, aka the Grammys. I'm going to, because it's a baby shower. And I want to drink during the baby shower. What the H? I am who I am, man. And you feel this pressure. Like, it's a lot. It's a lot of people who are like, ooh, change. And you're like, listen, I do change. I do. I go through cycles. They're set. I know what I'm doing. They're good for me. I got this figured out. I'm trying to do this thing where I'm accepting myself and getting to know myself and doing it my way and be powerful. And why are you guys putting so much pressure on me now that I'm trying to do this thing and feel strong, like I have some backbone here? Forgive me, for that, because I know you're fish, but you know what I mean? Like, why are you doing this? I know fish have bones. Stop it. Why are you doing this, right? Like, you're feeling it. But at the same time, I gotta tell you, you're feeling it, but not really. Because there is this sense of like, yo, I am who I am, okay? I am. That's it. Yeah, you're right, maybe. Yeah, I know, I should. You're right too. And yes, I want to follow you into this crazy, yes, I do. But, at the same time, if you think that I'm going to change If you think that I could change, okay, if you think I want to change, you're wrong. I like being the way that I am. I like that I feel as much as I feel. I like the cycles, even though I probably never admitted to anyone that I go through when I get really sad or really upset about something and have to work it out for myself. Because I always learn something and I always feel better and I always come away a better, more refined person. And that's the whole name of the game, right? Figuring out those dark parts of you. What's the moon card? Let's talk about that. The moon card is about shedding light on things. Isn't that what Pisceans are always doing? Y'all are always running your mouth about stuff you're not supposed to be talking about, but is good and needs to be talked about, you know? But no one else is going to do it. And you're like, well, let's talk about it. Such and such is a racist. And such is sitting at the table going, huh? Like, Pisces don't give a fuck, right? Like, that's how you are. You shed light on things. You're not just going to sit there and make nice. Like, one of the things that I've heard more from Pisces than any other sign is like, nah, I can't be anything but me. I'm real. That's what it is. It is what it is. Like, I'm not going to pretend. There's a pride to this. You understand? And as much as this is, yes, it's compelling, and as much as, yes, this is a lot of pressure, and as much as, yes, this is charming, and there is logic here, and you can get along with all these people when you feel like it, there is still this, like, wonderment going on your part, like, excuse me, do you realize that I have my own thing? Just because I'm fluid and mutable and will listen to you talk and will be nice and be engaged with you and you know, feel your pain and be there with you, does that mean that you think that you have say over me like this? Now, if I have said this in one of the readings before, again, it is because I do feel like there is a certain cyclical nature to your issues. However, let's learn now how this time it's different. So here we come to the Nine of Pentacles. Now, this is about your money. Okay? This is about your money. And it's interesting. Let's look at this card. I haven't noticed this before, right? But some of this money actually looks like it's like coming off the plants, right? Like it's the plants are flowering and giving her money. And she's already in this garden that has like a wine vineyard, right? Those are wine grapes behind her. And obviously that looks like that's her land behind her too. Like it's an estate or something, right? So she's basically like harvesting, or those things need to be harvested, right? They're like blooms on like a rose bush or something, right? So to me, this is about, you know, when you look at these people and you feel this pressure, there is a side of you that's like, I'm a Pisces, or I am who I am. Even if you don't identify too much with being a Pisces, there is a strong sense of pride in I am who I am. And part of that I am who I am, Pisces, is knowing that you have enough money. But not just enough money, more than enough money. There's no way for Pisces to completely feel like this and be really in their power and exhibiting their most powerful qualities, you know, and the way I talked about, you guys will talk about stuff no one will talk about. It's a very difficult thing to do. You got to be really strong and really, you know, to say the thing that no one else will say, especially if you're stuck between a group of people. To say the thing that no one will say that really needs to be said, to be like this and to be the moon, Pisces, it's very, very, very difficult, okay? So, and yes, people will say, well, Pisces is not necessarily associated with them. I understand, but that's how you guys are coming up to me here, okay? So to be like this, to be the one that sheds the light and says the thing that perhaps these people don't want to admit to themselves or to each other, to be like this, you have to know you have a certain amount of security that has nothing to do with these situations, and that's the only time you can truly be you. So I find that usually Pisceans who have no money worries can be more themselves and more outspoken and more, you know, blunt and quote unquote real, but not because they're fake when they don't have money. It's just that they don't feel up to it. They don't feel confident, and they get scared, and you guys get scared. And when you have money, you have a tendency to lose all those social fears. Okay, now moving from there, we go to the Four of Cups. So is it sad to have to change the dynamic with people? These could be relationships, this could be work related, this could be school related. Is it sad to have to change those dynamics with people when you have to push back against their pressure? Is it sad to look back and think, you know, there was a time when we were like really, really doing so much better, and things were so much nicer and the communication was so much better and I miss that. Is it natural to feel that way as part of the cycle of learning from people, pushing back against their influence, taking that, isolating yourself a little, working on your money, being a little bit away from people, missing them a little? Is this part of the cycle bad? No. No. You need it. You know why? Because this is also like the Scorpios, right? This is a water sign thing, also like Cancers. It's only by going in a little bit. I mean, no, it's not completely internal because you are looking at something, but this is in your mind, right? These are your emotions. So this is going on in your mind. So you're stuck a little bit in your mind, and that's why you can't see what's right in front of you. Now, is it okay to be a little bit isolated in your head and be a little bit out of it? Yeah. When you're going through this and you're pushing back and going through this learning wavy process here, this ocean-like process of ebb and flow, is it okay to be a little bit like this? Sure, of course it is. Get it out of your system before the summer gets here so you can be cute. Cute and social and confident and like this and telling it like it is, making friends and enemies. Woo woo. And why do you need to do this? Why is it okay to be like this? Because Pisces, you always reemerge. You always reemerge having learned more and being more confident and feeling better and knowing more with a new opportunity, with a new, something coming along, right? For whatever you've lost here by being yourself, always something good and new comes along. And here it is, right? So let yourself. It's okay if you're feeling like this, right? Now, what do you have to watch out for? What's going on for the rest of this month? This is how you're going to be feeling, and these are the energies that are going to be right towards the beginning of the month. You're going to feel very kind of impressed upon. People are going to be trying you. People are going to be trying to tell you about yourself, like as if they know you better than you, which is so insulting. I don't know why people do that to Pisces, because y'all always look at them like, really? Okay. And you have to look here during this month, if you know that your confidence level is attached in so many ways and your ability to be truly authentic and who you are is attached in so many ways to your money, then March becomes very important in terms of sowing the seeds. Okay, so what do I mean? So this month you need to be like, okay, what are the seeds that I'm gonna, I want this harvest, for example. I want to be this lady with all this, jazz that she has. Hey, that rhymes. Okay, so I want to be her, right? So what do I have to do starting now so by this time next year when my birthday rolls around again that I will be feeling more like this? Do I stay stuck in whatever, I'm going through here with these people who are unfair to me and trying to get me to be in a way that makes me feel bad and not myself? Do I stay stuck here for the year? Is that part of the goal? No. Do I move on victorious knowing that whatever is behind me is not as good as what is in front of me? Yes. Now, what is waiting for me? Okay, but listen, hold on. Here's the thing. Okay, here's the thing. I always like to remind people when this card comes up that this is actually not a bad card. Let me explain why. And it's not just because it's a sword card and I'm an air sign. I'm not just defending the sword card. It's not a bad card because these swords, okay, check it out. She's blindfolded, okay? Those swords are only there to illustrate for you what's going on in her mind. She's bound up by these swords. She's bound up by these thoughts. She can't get away from them. She can't shake them, okay? And then, boom, bam, the big, blow up thing. The big thing that you guys do sometimes when you can't take it anymore. But here's the thing. Yeah, there are two ways that you can interpret feeling like this and feeling, sad that things aren't working out with people the way that you want. There are two ways that you can behave from this point forward. You can, like I said, move victoriously with faith towards knowing that something better is coming to you. This guy seems to have the right idea, right? If you attract whatever your dominant emotion is at any given time, Pisces, and you more than most, then this guy's got the right idea. His dominant emotion seems to be pride, success, achievement, moving forward, confidence, faith, hope, right? I bet he's going to attract all those things. Now, could you also go from this energy very easily to becoming even more dominated by what has gone by and what you feel like you cannot recreate now and where you cannot see opportunity right now because these people are just being idiots? Can you very easily go from here to here? Of course you could. Of course you could. Some would even say that's a natural progression. But here's the thing, that's why this comes up here. Because it's like the cards are like, yo, you have a choice. You don't have to translate this into this. This is what I mean about what are you sowing, what are you planting, what are you going to harvest. Depending on how you take all this that's happened to you right now, depending on what you do with it and how you plant it, you're going to have a harvest in the fall. Right? And you can plant seeds of victory or you can plant seeds of your own longing and sorrow. Does that mean that however you're feeling, if you're already at this point and you're early, because Pisceans can be a little, impatient, they can be a little early even in their own readings, does this mean that your feelings here aren't valid just because this is in your head, just because these are your thoughts? It's not that your feelings aren't valid. It's just that you have to decide, you have to understand that no matter how legitimate you feel like this, if this is your dominant emotion, you cannot attract anything different. You will only attract this. There's no way to attract anything except this if this is how you feel. And you can say, well, how do I feel anything but this? But because this is how I feel. Take a look. Sheer will, man. Sometimes you just got to pick your head up and you got to put one foot in front of the other and you got to move, even if you don't feel like it. That's exactly what this woman is not doing. Does it even matter that she's surrounded by swords? She doesn't know. She's trapped in her own, misery. And these are the two outcomes here, right? Depending on what you sow, this is what you're going to reap. This is where we're putting in seeds for what happens for the rest of the year. And so this being the outcome card, is that terrifying? Listen, no. Because in the I Ching, for example, it says that the shock of something good can be just as jarring as the shock of something bad. Okay? So this could just be shock. This could just be things turning all the way upside down. Now, does that mean that that's good or that's bad? Really, again, March is giving you a very clear choice here. And I love when the readings are like this because they're so interactive and there's such a sense of free will about them. All you're getting is some pictures based on where you're at mentally. You're getting some pictures on what your options are and what the two most formative roads are that are being made for Pisceans because of the way you guys are behaving and because of what you're being exposed to, right? So these are the two things that you can plant the seeds for and harvest later. These are the two things that you can do and end up with, sow seeds for and harvest later. And you do need to decide and you do need to think things over. Perhaps include this thing that now you can't even see. Perhaps account for the fact that you have some tunnel vision about these circumstances and being aggressed upon, but take the time to be with yourself and just not, be interacting so much with people while you're making these decisions and while you're figuring out what do you want your dominant emotion to be and which direction do you want things to go for the rest of the year, because it's up to you now. You're being given the choice exactly when you should be. It's as it should be because it's your birthday month. So, is the Tower a bad card depending on what you do with this Four of Cups? No, not at all. Not at all. Do you have the whole month to figure this out? Yes, you do. you know, and you know what it feels like to feel like this, and so you can completely be yourself and then lead yourself to really, really victorious conclusions. You've done this before, you've felt like this before, you know how this feels. It's easy to recreate if you put your mind to it. Just know the formula. Okay, the formula is that you need to, in terms of finance, career, self-worth that goes with working and what you do for a living, if you feel solid there, your ability to be yourself really shines, and that leads to success. However, I need you to understand that this works both ways, Pisces. You can feel really confident financially and feel secure and therefore be yourself, right, and be applauded for that, and that will turn that value that you're adding by being yourself and being authentic, that value that you're adding to any workplace in any capacity that you are there, will be rewarded. That will be reciprocated to you in terms of money. We know that it works that way. And if you didn't know, now you know, right? Early in the reading we talked about it. However, it also works the other way. You can be completely yourself without, and I know this is hard. I already said you guys are much more comfortable doing it the other way, but it's important to note, well, Amber, what if I don't have this? Does that mean I can just not have this dynamism about me and be the whole Pisces I need to be? If I don't already have it, can I not make it? Does that mean only people already have it can make more of it? That's not fair. Right, exactly. No, that wouldn't be fair, and the universe is fair. So this is how it works. You can start at any point and get to the other point. Okay, so this is turning into a little bit of like a fix your money energy segment, but you guys need to worry about money. Not worry about money. I am so sorry I said that. You don't need to worry about money. You need to think about money right now, right? You need to think about money. So you go from this way to this way. We already talked about that. Now, how do you go from this way to this way? All right. If you don't start off with this already, how do you get here? You start here. You are completely yourself and say exactly what you need to say when you need to say it, even though that you know the people around you aren't always the happiest and find you a bit abrasive or annoying or whatever, you know, adjective you want to put in there. You're still going to completely be you, the way you act when you feel really secure. You can just act that way without having this cushion. You can just continue or be that way because you add value when you're like that, because you're authentic, and you will end up here. Either way, it works. Okay? This is what you need to be focusing on. And is it being colored by your emotions and your feelings, this process? Is it being colored by what's going on with these people and the way you feel about, you know, just being treated unfairly? Is this process being colored by your emotion? Of course it is. That's why it's here. But this just stands to reason. Of course it is. So the way to get what you want out of this month, but also consequently the year, is to really understand this process. One, understand that regardless of what these people did or how they made you feel or where they left you, March gives you the opportunity to decide not where they left you, but where you're going. Okay? Forget where they left you. Where are you going? Right? March is about movement. March. Okay? Move. We're moving now. Which way are you going to move? Here are your roads. And are you going to have a big bam, boom, firework conclusion based on what you pick? Absolutely. Will it be good or bad? You decide. Okay, so let's see. What else are we talking about? This is the first video that I am going to put up. And I don't know if you guys saw the other video about me putting up a new channel. I put up a new channel. It's called Amber Ramblings. I will put the description. I will put the link to it in the description, and you can subscribe to that. It's a much more like behind the scenes kind of look at what I do, what I use, what I wear. It's like a lifestyle thing more. but it is still based on astrology. Like, for example, this particular so those will come out mid-month. These readings are at the beginning of the month, and based on what you guys ask me and what input I get from the readings, I will be doing a mid-month, very casual answering of those questions, but also talking about talking to people of certain signs, people I'm just going to have come and hang out with me, and I'm going to ask them a little about just, general questions where you'll see their certain astrological signs shine, and you'll be like, oh my god, that person's actually such a Leo, and I love doing that with people, and I think you'll really enjoy it. So that'll all be going on in that channel, as well as like what I use in my hair, what I use on my face, all that kind of stuff. I buy and try a lot of stuff. I've never like shared that with people. It's just something that I do on my own for myself. But it's a very interesting process, right? And so I realize that there's a lot of people who don't have the time or the wherewithal to do that, and then end up with sucky products that they hate. And so if I can in any way add to, your time, so you don't waste your time with stupid things that don't work because I already tried the stupid thing that didn't work, then yeah, let's do that. So that kind of stuff will also be on that channel. And then what else will be there? That's about it. That's about what will be on there. Oh, right. And I'm going to be teaching, I'm going to be putting up a set of, like, they started off as like a set of what you would call like life coaching, self-esteem coaching for women. Just because it's been overwhelming, the response for that sort of product. So I'm working with Teachable, and I'm going to create just an online set of videos that you can go and like subscribe to or purchase, and then you can just watch the 8 or 10 videos on there that have to do with like self-esteem, and if I don't exactly know what the format's going to be yet, if you can watch those videos over and over again on Teachable, and if you can't, and if you'd rather just want to buy that set of videos so you can just have them forever, that's also an option. So for those two things, please also email me, and you can also learn more about those on my other channel. Now, having said all that, Cynthia sent me another mala. It's not like, in any way supposed to be on the channel, but she didn't ask me to put it on the channel. We didn't even talk about it, but I'm wearing it just because again, it's just super powerful, and it suits me when I'm on camera and working and stuff, to when I'm working with people one-on-one and in person, to wear it, because it's all carnelian, and it's like the quality of the stones is sick. And she put like an eye, like one of those Nazar eyes, like the one I wear here, to protect from like evil eye, right? She put one of those on there, and she put like a little like Chinese symbology good luck thing on here. I'm not sure what sort of stone this is. She told me, but I forgot. I apologize. And the rest of it is just straight carnelian. It's super heavy. But, carnelian is a stone of protection and healing. There are all sorts of other things too, but I've always found that it protects me from people's energies and builds like a very cool barrier between me and the world, where things will still come in, because there's certain stones that I can wear that don't let anything in. And I can't read people at all then, because my own energy is being so heavily guarded. So carnelian is really healing in the way that you can still feel people's energy and still interact with them energetically and give them, like during healing sessions, for example, I can still wear this and still do the healing session because my energy can still get through that sort of semi, permeable barrier, right? Whereas with some stones, just like a wall goes up. Like for me, black tourmaline is like, when I used to carry black tourmaline in my pocket, it was like just, that was my energy. That's like people didn't even, this is more like, yes, you can interact with me. Yes, I'm here, I'm present, but I'm still being like heavily guarded by something that's letting stuff out, but not letting all that much in. You know what I mean? Like not letting the stuff that's harmful in, but also still letting in the good stuff. So it's been very helpful for me. And what I've been doing with the rose quartz mala, if you remember from the first time I started wearing Cynthia's malas, and then the lapis one that's so incredibly powerful, and now this one, which is also, I feel just, and it's so like my mom, I opened the box and I showed it to her and I was like, oh my God, Cynthia sent me a gift, like so nice, right? And she like I don't think there's anything that my mom would want that she doesn't have, right? So she like looks at it and she was like, and I like very rarely see that look on my mom's face. And I was like, Mom, do you want it? Like, you know, do you want it? And she was like, yeah, after you make the videos, can I have it? And I was like, yeah, of course. Like, I don't think I've ever heard my mom ask for anything from me. You know, I was like, oh my God, of course, yes, you can have it. And so like, and my mom's like a super, like, I get my, abilities from my mother's family, like, so they have this in their blood, and my mother has dreams about what's going to happen. She always has. She's got all sorts of like intuition and just, yeah. So for her to, you know, she just took it out and felt, and she was like, can I have that? And I was like, yes, you can have this. So, you know, that's quite an endorsement. Like my mom doesn't, very, you know, so picky, and the Aries refinement of an Aries, right? So for her to like love this is like, I know that it's good stuff. So I will also leave Cynthia's info, even though I have to say, like, if you would like to get something from her like this, you have to understand. And this is a good point to bring up also for people who would like to have a reading. Please understand. These things, this is a process. The reading is a process. It is not a product. And it's important to make that distinction, because if you reach out to Cynthia and she doesn't get back to you for even a few weeks, it's because the process of making these for the amount of people who are already in front of you is emotionally, spiritually, energetically taxing, draining, and you want it to be. You want to get something from someone where they have put something of themselves into it, right? So you want to be happy for that wait. So if you'd like to get something from her, please understand that it will be a long wait until she can make this thing for you, but it is well worth the wait. Now, how does that relate to readings? It's the same thing. There are times when I am not able to do a reading when I'm supposed to do a reading because I'm not clear, right? So there are times when I have to reschedule things just because I'm not going to be able to give you your money's worth. I can't sense anything, right? So I can't help that, just like Cynthia can't help that it takes a certain amount of energy to make this thing. Like what my mom felt when she took this out of the box and held it in her hands and she had that look on her face that she never has. What she felt was what I always feel from her pieces, which is the amount of energy and love that goes into them. And that is something that you can't do on a clock, and it's something that you can't do and answer all your emails every day or even every week or even every month, because if you have a great product, you are going to have a backlog. So that applies as much to Cynthia and her beautiful work. Thank you, Cynthia, for making this for me. And it also applies to the reading that you would be getting through me, because I want to give you the best version of me, right? So please be patient with me. So Pisces, happy birthday. You are first, and I hope you have a really good month and a really good birthday. Be brave. Be who you are. Whether you have the money or not, it will come to you if you are brave and you believe in who you are and you speak your truth. Do that this month. Plant those seeds of truth and authenticity, and watch how in the fall and the winter you're just going to be like, bow. You know what I mean? Like, this is not as much about relationships as you want to make it. And I know I kind of hit on this last month, but it's like, I know how you feel because of these people. I know that this is not okay. I know that you guys, you know, can feel pressure in one of these three arenas. But don't get stuck there. Understand that you have a choice. Understand that it's a powerful time of year. Understand that right now you can make it happen the way you want. And let's move forward from there. Yes? No one's faster than a fish. Remember, when you find a direction, you go with it. Now's the time. Now we're looking for direction. Now we're going to go with it. Okay? I love you guys. It's so nice we get along now, right? I love you guys. I'll see you next month.